Okay, if you know me, I'm a huge Rush fan. Let's get that out of the way. This video is probably very long overdue. I should have done it a while ago, but the timing seemed right finally. What are we going to do? We're going to take a look at the 19 studio albums by Rush. I'm going to rank them from my least favorite to my favorite, just based on what I like. Not looking at what was the most popular, what was the least popular, what sold the most albums, CDs, streams, however you want to look at it. It's just what they mean to me, and I'll kind of walk you through, why I've selected some of them. I will tell you this: my number 1, 2, and 3 are probably way different than most people would expect. So let's get into it. I mean, we'll take a look at this, and I'm sure I'll hear about it from both sides. And you're correct, you're not correct. Again, I don't care. It's just what I like, and sharing that with you. Okay. So without further ado, let's take a look at the. So we're going to go 19 to 1, okay? So number 19, this comes as no surprise if you know me, Hold Your Fire. Not saying I don't like it, but as far as the catalog goes, it just is not my favorite. It's at the bottom. It just is. Some highlights on here for sure. I've always liked Time Stands Still. I will say, I think it's in prime mover. I think Neil's lyric, the point of the journey is not to arrive. Probably my all-time favorite Rush lyric. So I'm going to give it that. Force 10 is okay. Again, Time Stands Still. I do like Mission, but I think it's just the way it was produced. A lot of keyboards, but just isn't for me. I'm a guitar player, so I'm more into that. But that's where I put this one. I will say, though, I do like the live album that was kind of incorporated with this, a show of hands on this tour. But again, just isn't for me. So number 19. I'm going to try to keep count too. So 19, 18, Fly By Night. Some good stuff on here for sure. I definitely like most of the tunes. Anthem, Best I Can, Beneath Between Behind, probably one of my favorite songs from this whole era, early 70s, mid 70s, I should say. Making Memories, good acoustic guitar rhythm section there. I like that. But again, it was a transition album, in my opinion, going from that first album, the first one with Neil now. But not saying don't listen to it. Again, I'm just ranking it based on my preference. So we are with Fly By Night for number 18. Number 17, The Beginning, Rush. Not a bad album. It's just, in terms of, what my preferences are. Some great tunes on here as well. I like Before and After. It's probably one of my favorite songs on this one. Here Again as well, kind of a slower one. Maybe too slow at times. Finding My Way. Most of us, if you're a Rush fan, know that one. Of course, Working Man is on this one too. So, and I'm thinking maybe I kind of got tired of Working Man over time, just from hearing it live. I mean, I know people probably cursing me out because, I've seen them several, I think I've seen them a dozen times. How many times I saw Working Man performed, and then, folks who've never seen them. So I'm not trying to say I take it lightly, but, again, it just wasn't my favorite album, or it was close to being my favorite album. All right. 16. I think this is number 16. Let's see if I can keep count. Presto. Okay album. One of my favorite songs in the whole catalog is on this album, and where is it? It is The Past, number 3 on here. Really one of my favorite songs in the whole album. Very deep lyrically. Show Don't Tell, good opener. I think Show Don't Tell is the opener that really sees the band changing, going back to the power trio roots, I think. Coming out of, the Hold Your Fire era. But, Show Don't Tell, Chain Lightning, The Past, War Paint. I like War Paint a lot too. That was a good tune. Scars, Presto, one of my favorite songs as well. That's a really good tune. I'm glad I got to see that. I think played once on the Time Machine tour. Superconductor's okay. Red Tide, Available Light, and then a few others on here. But kind of that's where I rank this one. My opinion. I believe we're at number 15 now. Kings, so Farewell to Kings. Okay song, okay record. I mean, definitely, Xanadu. I mean, it's on here. You've got Closer to the Heart. Cinderella Man, pretty decent. Madrigal, didn't do it for me. Farewell to Kings, okay. And the Cygnus X1, So, not that there's any duds on here. I think just kind of based, probably because of my age as well. This came out in '77. You know, if you do the math, I was only 4 years old. But I kind of got more acclimated to Rush in the 80s and 90s. So that's probably why a lot of those albums mean more to me. There's a street cleaner outside, so it'll be going by in a second. But I think that's why I rank this one where I do. Again, personal preference. If you're basing it off of the hits or the songs that, you know, are favorites within the Rush community, obviously this would be a lot higher. But just because of personal preference, that's where I put it. I think we're at number 14. Let me just double check my math. 14. Yep. Vapor Trails. I like this album. I thought it was, you know, again, I don't think there's any guitar solos on this album, though. I think that was the thing that got me on this. No guitar solo. I could be wrong, but I don't remember anything that really stands out as far as like a true guitar solo. I had wished the only song I don't think they ever played it live, and I could be wrong, was Vapor Trail, which I thought was a killer track. I really, really, really like that one. One Little Victory, again, you know, coming out of that 5-year period when they, you know, with Neil and his family, you know, One Little Victory coming out of it, and you know, it starts with the drums. You know, letting you know that not only is Neil back, but the band is back too. But One Little Victory, Ceiling Unlimited, Ghost Rider, that one grew on me. Peaceable Kingdom, The Stars Look Down, How It Is. Got to see How It Is in Newark, I think, on the R40 tour. Earthshine, okay. So, and a couple other ones on here, but, you know, solid album, just kind of got where it ends up being ranked based on preference, that's all. All right. Number 13, we have Stakes and Arrows. Weird album. It was weird just in terms, I think, of just the song structure, how it sounded at times, but it was solid. It had a lot. I mean, as far as the instrumental tunes go with Rush, the main Monkey Business, I think, could be my favorite. There's one part in that song where it just, the way the rhythm is going and things are moving, you just want to start breaking things. It was weird, but Far Cry, I really dig that tune. Armor and Sword, and I think that's kind of why I think it was weird. Far Cry, Armor and Sword, way different. Spindrift was really different. Good News First, We Hold On. So it was a lot of different things going on this album. So not that it's weird in a bad way, just a little different for me. That was all. That's how I look at it. Okay. Number 12, we have Test for Echo. This and another album which we'll get into. A good friend of mine, we have gone back and forth on these albums quite often as far as, are they good? Are they not good? What's good? What's bad? And if he's watching, which I'm sure he is, he's going to comment and he's going to give his 2 cents. And I just think it's fun that we can have such different opinions on, you know, 2 specific albums. But this is the first one, Test for Echo. I always dug Test. I didn't get to see this tour. I thought these tunes were heavy. I think this was really them coming back out of, but, you know, from the Moving Pictures time, I think this was probably their heaviest album to that point. Test for Echo, Driven, Half the World, Time in Motion, Dog Years, Limbo, one of my favorite instrumentals from the band as well, which I don't think gets enough credit. But my take on this one, again, and I think this tour, I didn't see this tour, but this tour was phenomenal. They played 2112, the whole section of it. Was it all 7 pieces, I think it was they did? But that's where I put this one. Not that it's good or bad, it's just with the other albums, this is where I've put this one. Number 11. This has been one that I've kind of told folks my opinion on. Again, it's right in the middle of the pack. It really is. It's okay. There's elements that I do like, but it definitely just is not my favorite like it is with a lot of other folks. Big Money, obviously, is the big one on this one. Mystic Rhythms is probably actually, Mystic Rhythms is my favorite track off of this album. Heard it live on the Counterparts tour, so I dig that a lot. I like that one very much. And the other ones are okay. I think they're just okay, in my opinion. But hearing them live, especially on the Clockwork Angels tour, was really good. So that's where I put this one, number 11. All right, we're going to crack the top 10. Signals. Dig the album. I like it. I think some of my favorite songs are the ones that people don't know as much. I mean, Subdivisions was the big one on this one. I like the Analog Kid. Great tune. I think it's one of the best solos by Alex Lifeson for sure. Chemistry is okay. Digital Man, I didn't like on the album, but hearing it live on Snakes and Arrows on that tour opened it up to me again. I really do like that. New World Man was kind of, I think, might have been a top 40 hit at one point. I don't remember for sure, but that was kind of like probably their most popular radio-friendly tune on, top 40 station. I could be wrong, but I feel like that was a top 40 hit. Losing It, deep lyrics, Countdown, they're tied to the space shuttle and watching it launch. So, and The Weapon. I actually like The Weapon a lot. That was a good tune. So, again, this was kind of the turning point for moving pictures going into that synthesizer era. It was just starting to happen. You would see on the following albums more and more synthesizer. But this one, I still kind of lump this into the era of the first couple albums all the way to moving pictures in here, and then the band started to change, I think. And then next in line we have Grace Under Pressure. So Signals released in 82. This was released in 84. More synthesizers, but I thought they blended better with the guitars, in my opinion. Distant Early Warning I liked. After Image was okay. Red Sector A was okay. I liked The Enemy Within. Body Electric was okay. Between the Wheels, great tune off of this album as well. Got to see this a couple times live, Between the Wheels. So that was cool. I think it's a solid album. Again, but definitely going into that synthesizer era, you saw more of that pivot with this. So, but that's where I put it. Number 8, this is going to be probably one of the first shockers you see. I'm putting Permanent Waves down here at number 8. Different Strings was probably my least favorite on this album. Spirit of Radio, Free Will, I get it. Jacob's Ladder, I like. A lot of folks not even on the fence. You either liked it or you hated it. I dug it. And Natural Science, again, one of my favorites from the band in general. 9 minutes, I think the tune clocks in at. So I got to see that live once or twice, which was really cool. So again, solid album. And you know what? I didn't know until I don't want to say recently, but it took me a while. Permanent Waves is actually in the wave. The name of the album is right there in the wavelengths. Never knew that. Just nothing you needed to know. I'm just sharing that with you. But that's kind of where I ranked this one. Again, not that there's anything wrong with it. And Entre Nous, one of my favorite songs as well. But again, just because of personal preference, I rank it here at number 8. Now the wheels are turning. Now you're kind of wondering, okay, if that's number 8, what else is going on here? Number 7, again, probably another head scratcher. I have Roll the Bones this high. 91, it's released. 92 was the first year I saw them live. Meadowlands Arena, June 19th of 92. So this album definitely has special meaning to me because I think it was the first one. It might have been the first CD I actually bought of the band. So and this is when the CDs came in those long cardboard boxes. So it kind of gives you an idea on the time frame there. I like the album. Dreamland was good. Bravado was good. Roll the Bones. Face Up. Where's My Thing? I like that one. Big Wheel was okay. Heresy, okay. Ghost of a Chance. I really like that song. And You Bet Your Life. So I think there's some really good tunes on this album. Guitar tone, if Alex Lifeson had the guitar tone here that he had on Counterparts, I think this album was much higher for me. But this was another evolution. Now I think it's at one of the final phases of the band, coming out of the synth era, truly going back into the guitar side of things, which I thought was good. Like, again, power trio type of stuff. So that's why I've got this one here at number 7. All right, hold on for this one. This one's probably higher in most people's rankings. I got 2112 at number 6, so it didn't even crack my top 5. Nothing wrong with this album at all. Great album. Love the story. It just, again, I'm going into, what they mean to me and how I followed Rush. I didn't get into 2112 until later on because I started with Roll the Bones, then it was Chronicles, and I think A Show of Hands, and then Signals and Moving Pictures kind of getting into that. This was later on, so a lot of these other albums I already kind of was into. So, but that's why I rank it at number 6. It's a great album, it really is. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just kind of where I put it for my ranking. So, I know most folks have this as number 1 or number 2. Not that I want it to be different, but just being honest, in terms of where it's ranking, the other 5 albums that I have mean more to me, and we'll start getting into that. But number 6. Number 5, Caress of Steel. Love this album. Bastille Day, good. I Think I'm Going Bald was fine. Lakeside Park was fine. The Necromancer, it was okay. It just wasn't great. It was okay. For me, it was The Fountain of Lambeth. That was the one that got me into the storytelling with them. I think it is super underrated, that whole piece. I think it's about 19 minutes worth of music, maybe 20. But that was the one that got me into their storytelling side of things. That's why I have this at the top 5. I think The Fountain of Lambeth is some of their best work. I know the tour was dubbed, Down the Tubes tour, whatever it was called. I mean, it was really, they were at their breaking point. It was like, all right, well, either we're going to make it work with the next album, which was 2112, or we don't make it at all. So I thought that this album itself was fantastic. So I know a lot of people don't see it that way. To me, this was a great piece of music by them. Yeah, number 4, Counterparts. Yep, Counterparts, number 4. Dig the album. I like it a lot. I think the tunes are really good. Animate, Stick It Out, Cut to the Chase. Nobody's Hero. Not one of my favorites, but it's good. Between Sun and Moon, Alien Shore, The Speed of Love, Double Agent. I am thankful I got to see Double Agent played on the Counterparts tour. I think could possibly be their most underrated song, and why they only played it for one tour, I don't know. Because that song was awesome live. It just was. It just has a great feel to it. I love that tune. So, glad I got to see it. Leave That Thing Alone, another instrumental, pretty good. Cold Fire I liked, and Everyday Glory, which I liked as well, but I don't think was ever played live. So one of those tunes that if you're creating a list of songs never played by Rush, I'm sure that's on the list because I don't remember hearing that at all or seeing it anywhere. Here we go, top 3. You probably figured some of it out already. What order is it in? Number 3, Moving Pictures. It's going to be up in the top 5 no matter what. Like the album a lot. Of course, Tom Sawyer, Red Barchetta, Limelight were the big ones. YYZ. The Camera Eye I Dig was pretty cool. That was a good one. Witch Hunt was okay, but I think Vital Signs is one of my all-time favorites from the band. Heard it live. I think it was live for the very first time on the Roll the Bones tour when I saw them at the Meadowlands. And I think that, and with the Analog Kid for some reason, I remember those two being in that show. But Vital Signs, another underrated tune, I think. And I'm glad I got to see that live with the whole Moving Pictures being played cover to cover on the Time Machine tour. So for sure, Moving Pictures, is up there. But that's kind of where I ranked it. And I think these were probably the first videos I saw on MTV of the band was, during the Moving Pictures era. So what's number 1 going to be? Well, number 2 is Hemispheres. Love it. Love the guitar tone. Love the music. Love the lyrics, the storytelling. Cygnus X1 Book 2 I think is fantastic. Prelude. Love that tune. You've got the whole story with that. Circumstances was a great song as well. The Trees was okay. I liked it. La Via Strangiato, again, probably the most famous of the instrumentals, clocking in around 9 minutes or so. So, again, great album. Sometimes I've got this, I never had this number 1, but I've always had it like in the top 3 or top 5, depending how I wanted to rank things. So, I've got this coming in at number 2. Well worth it, in my opinion. All right. Have you figured it out? Clockwork Angels. Favorite album. I mean, the more I think about it, just a concept record, truly cover to cover. Caravan, BUT, Be Brought Up to Believe, Clockwork Angels. I mean, the whole list goes on and on. So, the thing about this album that gets me was the final song of the band being released on any album. So, last album and the last song was The Garden. And, it's just the way things unfolded. Obviously, with the passing of Neil a few years back, I think The Garden was a fantastic way to kind of just wrap up the writing and the creativity that the three of them had together. So The Garden, really super powerful, unbelievable live. Certainly gets the emotions going, I think, when you really think about it. But it is just a solid album, cover to cover. The storytelling that Neil did, and I don't know if he was working with Kevin Anderson on this or if it was after when they started working on the book project for Clockwork Angels, which I read the book, which was great as well. So, number 1 for me, and I think it always will be. I think it's got a little bit of everything. It's got the perfect amount of heaviness, keyboard, synthesizers, lyrics, the rhythm section, just everything, which is why I think it's number 1. It probably will always be number 1 for me. So, there you have it, my top 19. So, Would love to know what your thoughts are. What do you agree with? What don't you agree with? Again, this is just kind of what I like. It's not based on what everyone else thinks or what happened over the years. My personal preference, my opinion on these things. So I hope you liked it. Finally got that out of the way. Coming up at some point I'll be doing, I think there's 11 releases as far as the live releases they did. There's 11 of them, so we'll go over those. All right, but thanks. See you later.